Hello everyone, and welcome to our day one of our beginners course. So we're actually going to start off today with a little bit of breath work because I know you might be feeling a bit nervous. So just take a comfortable position, seated on the ground. And what I want you to do is just close your eyes and turn your attention towards your breath. Focusing on the air coming in through your nose and out through your nose. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. Notice how the air as you inhale is slightly cooler and as you exhale is slightly warmer. Inhaling and exhaling. Start to make your breathing as light as you can, almost as if you can barely feel the air entering and leaving your body. Smooth, soft, silky breaths as you inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. Inhale and exhale. Now on your next exhale, I just want you to bring your hand up to your nose, and as you finish your exhale, you're just going to pinch your nose and count from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and release. Gently inhaling, gently exhaling and pinch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently inhale, gently exhale. And now I just want you to let go of the breathing and just relax the whole body. Your head, shoulders, chest, arms, hips, legs, and toes. Now gently blink your eyes back open, and we're going to move straight into a few mobility moves. This is to warm your body up, get those joints rolling, get the blood flowing. Okay, so the first one that we're going to start off with is going to be neck circles. So just stay in your nice seated position, sitting up tall, raised up out of your hips, and you're just going to drop your head down towards your chest. And then you're going to start to circle around to the right hand side, coming all the way around, lifting the chin to the back and over to the left. Trying to get as deep as you can in these circles. Let's go around one more time this way. Nice and deep. Shoulders staying down and relaxed. Beautiful. And let's switch directions. So coming round to the left. Shoulders still down. Nice and deep in those circles. Okay, and rest. Now we're going to do some head tilts. So take your right hand and place it just slightly on the left hand side of your head. And then we're just going to tilt our head so that our ear, the right ear, is reaching down towards the right shoulder. Shoulders stay down and back. We're still sitting up nice and tall out of our hips. If you want, you could even put your left hand underneath your bum to get an extra stretch through the left side of your neck. And we'll just change over. Beautiful. And swapping over again. And one more time. is going to be shoulder circles. So I want you to put your hands together in a prayer. Make sure you're still sitting up nice and tall. Ribs are tucked in. You haven't started to flare out. And we're going to push the shoulders forward. So shoulders come forward, up, back as far as you can, and down as far as you can. And now forward again, up, back, and down. And now start to sort of smooth it into more of a circle. Try to keep your head position nice and neutral, so your head isn't starting to jump forward or backwards. This one, if you've got pain in your shoulders, this one will really get into it, because you're moving all the way around in this rotation. Okay, and rest. Come up onto your knees now. And we're going to do some windmills. So right hand goes over towards the left knee. It doesn't have to reach the knee if you can't. It can be on the thigh. And you're going to drive the left arm back and reach. Eyes following the fingers. Hand comes back in and across to the other knee straight away. Reaching back, looking back. Coming back in, hand crosses over, elbow back, hand back. Hand comes in, straight over. Really try and get as much rotation through this upper part of your body as you can. We're trying to warm up through the thoracic spine, which is the upper section of your spine before your neck. Nice, this is the last one. And then I just want you to come back onto your bum. And then we're going to do some hip swivels. So feet are out, hip distance apart. And you're just going to allow the knees to fall over to the left. And then your body turns to face the left direction. And then you're coming back up to the middle, over to the right. And the body twists so that your shoulders and your pelvis twist. Try to open up the knee as far as you can before the other one leaves the mat. That way we'll get a nice deep hip movement. Warming up. This is our last mobility move. And I'm going to get into telling you about your T-zone. Okay, so if you just want to come down onto the mat, you want to have your feet on the floor, knees bent, hands just relaxed down by your side for now, okay? I'm going to sit back up just to talk you through this, but this is the position you'll stay in. So, I'm going to tell you about T-zone. T-zone is your pelvic floor muscle and your transversus abdominis, which is a large muscle that's right down foundational level, core. It runs all the way down from the bottom here up to the ribs and around. So really huge muscle and really important for us to train it properly. So when I'm saying T-zone tight, I want you to imagine that that pelvic floor muscle is being lifted up inside you. You might almost feel as if you're trying to stop yourself from going to the loo. It's that kind of feeling. Pull it up really tight, and then hip bone to hip bone, you imagine that that's squeezing together to reach that vertical line, and then you want to be flattening the whole thing, the whole T-zone, down towards the mat. Okay, so relax and then start again. So we're pulling up, hip bone to hip bone, flattening down, and release. Again, up, hip bone to hip bone, and then flattening down. Beautiful. Okay, so with this T-zone, we're going to, I want you to focus on it, and you're going to tighten it. So pull up, hip bone to hip bone, flatten down, and then you're just going to tilt your pelvis with that tight T-zone. So you're pulling the tailbone up towards the belly button. And release back down. Really small movement. It's just so you can really get a hang of this T-zone tightening. So, tighten the T-zone, up, hip bone to hip bone, flatten down, and tilt the pelvis. And release. Roll that tailbone down flat. T-zone, up, across, and down. And tilt. And release back down. And tighten the T-zone, up, hip bone to hip bone, flatten down, and tilt. If you're unsure if you're doing it right, just take your fingers on the inside of your hip bones here, and it should feel doughy when you're all relaxed. And then as soon as you tighten your T-zone, so up, hip bone to hip bone, flatten down, you should feel a slight contraction underneath your fingers there. That contraction is going to get stronger and stronger as we move through this course. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is your spinal position. So when in Pilates we have either a neutral spine or an imprinted spine. So what we mean by neutral is very much what it sounds like. It's when you have your natural curve that's in your back. So the way that we can kind of figure out if we're in neutral is we create a diamond with our hands, and then the base of the hands sits on the hip bones and the fingertips come down onto that pubic bone. And when you're in a neutral spine, that diamond should sit completely parallel to the mat below us. So just play around with that until you think that you've got that nice and flat, and you feel how that lifts underneath in your spine and you get that nice curve. That's a neutral spine. So then to imprint your spine, you use the lower abs and you pull them down towards the mat as if you're trying to bring your back to imprint on the mat. And you might feel how your fingertips have slightly lifted. So your tailbone hasn't lifted, but your pubic bone has. Okay? So just play around going from neutral to imprint, back to neutral and imprint. Really using the lower abs to imprint your spine. It's really important we get the spine imprinting right, because it's going to protect your spine. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to do a couple of moves with these ones. So go back to neutral spine, and I just want you to tighten that T-zone, and as you exhale, just allow one leg to fall out to the side and come back in. So bent knee fall outs. Tighten the T-zone, leg comes out to the side with control, comes back in. Tighten that T-zone. Is your spine still neutral? Check that that's nice, still nice and level. T-zone's tight, fingertips are inside those hips, check in. And you're just allowing one knee at a time to fall out to the side with as much control as you can. If you find it's flopping around, you've probably let go of your T-zone, so just make the movement a little bit smaller. You're going to build this gradually. Okay, so just rest and imprint the spine. So feel those fingertips raise in that diamond. And now you're going to bring one leg at a time up into what we call tabletop. So it's a 90-degree angle. And then you're going to squeeze your legs together, arms come out to the side, and then tighten the T-zone. And as you inhale, we're going to come across to one side, just a very small movement, squeezing the knees together. Exhale, come back to the center. Check that that spine's still imprinted. That's what we're really working on here. So even as you come across to the side, your spine is still in that imprinted position. You haven't let it go and started to arch to try and get more rotation. You keep it imprinted. one side to the other. Just coming through. Come back to the center, check that T-zone, nice and tight, and across. Spine imprinted. Really small movement, knees squeezing together. We don't need big movements to get big results here. Trust me. Okay, and rest back down. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is your breathing. So I want you to just take your hands and place them on the lower two ribs. And then, as you inhale through your nose, you want to feel your ribs expand into your hand. So gently inhale, ribs expanding, and then you're going to exhale out through your mouth. And as you do so, you want to feel as if your ribs are gliding down towards your hips. So exhaling. Do you feel that shift with your ribs? That's your rib to hip. So when I'm cueing ribs to hips, that's what I mean. You can only do it on an exhale. So inhale, ribs expand into your hands. Exhale, ribs to hips. Closing it down. Closing down the ribs, corset on. Inhale, expand. Exhale, glide. Inhale, expand. Exhale, glide. Almost as if you're trying to close the gap between your lowest rib and your hip there. Okay? So, in order to practice this one, we are going to do some leg slides. So, you just need to tighten that T-zone, get that ready. Hands are just relaxed down by your side. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to glide the foot out, just the heel, and then inhale, come back in. So we're exhaling as the foot glides out, inhaling to come back in. So now we're going to bring the breathing into it. So really think about ribs expanding. As you inhale, tighten the T-zone. Exhale, glide the ribs to the hips. And the foot glides down as well. Inhale, ribs expand. T-zone tight. Pull that leg back in. And exhale, glide and slide. Inhale, coming back in. Ribs expand. And glide and slide. Inhale, come back in. Exhale, glide and slide. Inhale, come back in. Okay, so even in this position, you can just rest for a moment, and I'll just talk you through some of the other cueing points. So a chin tuck. So with this one, you want to feel almost as if you're finding length through the crown of your head. And when I first started doing Pilates, I wasn't really sure what that meant at all. Find length through the crown. Like I thought that crown was here and all sorts. It took me ages before I clocked on. So I want you guys to get it straight away. So the crown of your head is here. So when you're trying to find length in the crown, it's as if you're trying to extend the amount of space between this area and the base of your neck. So just as you even try to do that, notice how your chin naturally tucks. So that's the position that we want to be in, because we don't want to be over tucked, aiming for the double chin, but we don't want to be extended here. So you find length through the crown, and that gently tucks your head. So just have a go from going from neutral to length. Neutral, back to length, neutral, Okay, and then the next cue that you'll hear me saying a lot is shoulders down and back. So with this one, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's about relaxing through the upper part of your body, but at the same time, you are drawing your shoulder blades as if they are trying to reach down towards your bum. So you're trying to imagine that you're bringing your shoulder blades here down in a V shape towards the base of your spine. So you can just have a go at doing that. You'll barely feel anything happening, but it's mentally, if that's what you're imagining happening, that'll be keeping your shoulders from hunching and tensing up. And the more that we build upper body strength, the more that you will actually start to feel that slight contraction in between the shoulder blades as you draw them down and back. So you're just drawing them down and back. No tension in the neck or the upper body. It's all coming from that center point, almost as if if you're a female wearing a bra, then where your bra would click in. Like that's the point where you're trying to contract and pull down from there. Okay? Alright, so to try and do this, try and demonstrate this one. So come down onto your front now, and I just want you to have your arms out at about a 90-degree, forehead on the mat. And you're just very gently going to have a go at pulling that center point there in between your shoulder blades down towards your bum. So you're just going to contract and relax and contract and relax. Even in this position, keep your abs lifted. So it just that point. No tension in the neck or the shoulders at all. And you should very slightly feel your hands pull back, pull down towards your feet. Very slightly as you do this. So just have a go, keep contracting and relaxing. Contracting and relaxing. Really focus on the muscles in the center of your back doing the work here. Okay. So we are going to do another move here just to kind of bring everything together really. So if you just come back round onto your back, we're just going to do some leg lifts, okay? So feet down on the floor, legs shoulder distance apart. We've got a neutral spine, T-zones tight, shoulders down and back, chin tucked, legs in the crown. Okay, and as you exhale, you're going to lift one leg up into that tabletop position. Inhale, come back down. So remember, we exhale, we slide those ribs down towards the hips, and inhale, leg comes down. So quick body scan. You've got your chin tucked, your shoulders down and back. Remember that center point in the back, drawing down. Ribs towards the hips. Every time you exhale, you want to feel like this area is closed in like a corset. And then inhale, tighten that T-zone. It's very difficult to retighten your T-zone on an exhale just because of the way that things are moving. So we tighten the T-zone when we're in an inhale. Beautiful. Just keep going. Side to side. Really focus on good form. Just keep doing your own body scan. So as your chin tucked, shoulders down and back. Ribs towards hips on the exhale. T-zone tight. Take those fingers. You can always recheck your T-zone. Make sure that's tight before you initiate any sort of movement. You've got a neutral spine still. Really drive through the opposite heel. Really think about the ribs sliding down towards the hips every time that leg is getting lifted. Inhale, come back down, tighten that T zone. Keep going. Beautiful, just from side to side. You probably start to feel a little bit of heat here. I'm just going to do a couple more. And then we're going to do some stretching. Okay. All right. So roll yourself all the way over until you're back on your knees. And we're just going to have the feet together but knees apart, stretching the hands forward. Forehead comes to the mat, and then with your hands you're going to open them up as if you're trying to get the palm facing the sky, and then roll them all the way over to try and get the palm to the sky the other way. So just keep rolling through. Forehead stays on the mat, bum reaching towards your ankles. Should be able to feel this one in your shoulders. Make sure they're not hunching up towards your ears. Keep them down and back. Abs are lifted. Okay. And now we're going to start to creep the hands over to the left hand side, both hands, and hold. And you're going to be driving that right armpit down towards the mat. Forehead is on the mat. Just pushing down, breathing nice and gently. Okay, and creeping the hands across to the other side. So now we're driving our left armpit down into the mat, forehead down, bum still reaching towards the ankles. No tension in the neck. Breathing nice and gently. Push that armpit down a little bit further. Okay, and you can come back up. So, I'm going to come into all fours, and then your right arm is reaching up towards the sky, and you're threading it through the gap between your hand and your body, and you're pushing off the back of the hand. Other hand can also be pushing off the mat. And try to look up at the sky here. Okay, and come up. Other arm. So left arm reaches up, threads through the gap. And we're pushing off, looking up at the sky. Breathe deep into that shoulder, as if your breath is trying to fill up that shoulder space. come out of that one. And we're just going to come into a nice hip flexor stretch. So coming up, you want to have this sort of 90-90 position with your legs. And then you're going to take your hands either side of your body and you're pushing your backhand towards the front hand. So you're tilting. And you should start to feel that stretch inside the hip flexor. Try to keep your pelvis straight towards the front of the mat. Shoulders straight towards the front of the mat. Just lean forward a little bit more. Beautiful. And now you're going to straighten out that front leg. And you're leaning down. You'll feel this one down through your hamstring. Runner's stretch. Beautiful. Just relax. Breathing into that top of that hamstring. Okay, and you're going to move that foot behind you. Legs come back behind, push up into downward dog. So heels reaching towards the mat. Keep your ears in between your arms. Feet should be about hip distance apart. Just think about your hips lifting towards the sky as if someone's got them attached to a rope and is pulling them up. Okay, come back down, and now you're going to put your other leg forward in that 90-90 kneeling lunge position. And then again, you're going to have your hands either side of your body, pushing the back hand towards the front hand. And you'll feel that stretch come into your hip flexors here, top part of your quad. Really thinking about pulling the tailbone up towards the belly button. Nice. Pelvis is square to the front, shoulders square to the front. And we're just going to rock backwards slightly, stretching out that front leg. Breathe deep into the hamstring, fill up all the space in the hamstring. Shoulders relaxed. Toes flexed, pointing up towards us. Beautiful. Okay, and then you're just going to come back down onto your bum for our last stretch. Straddle, so legs out as wide as you can, and then it's as if you're trying to rotate your inner thighs to the sky, and then we're just going to lean forward, so it's as if you're coming up out of your hips and leaning forward. Only go as far as you need to start to feel a stretch. You don't need to be flopped down on the floor for this one. If you can, great, but we don't need to be. Lean a little bit further. Keep the length in the crown of your head. Mozzies. Mozzies everywhere. Leaning forward. Length in the crown. Keep going. Okay, and you can sit back up, and we're done. That was our first lesson in the 6-week beginners course. So as you can see, we took things really nice and slow. I just want to introduce all of the really important points nice and slow so that you understand them. Yeah, there's no rush with anything on this. If you have any questions or comments or anything, please just leave them on the video, and I will message you back and try and be as helpful as I can. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that one. Come back in a couple of days and we will have episode number 2 for you. Okay, so we'll be just going over the same sort of things again, but introducing some new and exciting moves. Thanks so much for joining me on this 6-week journey. Thanks, guys.